All right, the watch list for Wednesday. I'm going to have WB on watch. Nice volume, nice gap up. It's got some room to run. Of course, it made a big move today. On an intraday basis, one of our moderators in the chat room, Zozo, he's at Zozo Trader on Twitter. He's been with us a long time. He went ahead and called us today on an intraday trade at 20.79, about 10 minutes in. I think the stop was 20 cents below. Right, look at this. There's the trigger, and it went up a buck, literally in 15 or 20 minutes. And you can see the gap up. Very nice. So I want to have that back on watch again tomorrow, and really for the next several days going forward. ECYT, I also want to have on watch. It kind of broke out today of a long base on volume. Zozo did it again, by the way, in the chat room today. It looked like this when he called it over the high of the day, 741. Quickly went to 841 over the next 30 minutes. That's a great percentage gain. And you want to watch this one for several days going forward because that's a really nice move. Let's see, PULS. On the Apple craze today, this one got, it doesn't, almost no volume up until today, so it's definitely a lower float stock, but keep this one on your radar. It moved with the Apple release today. I want to give you this story, but I'm not sure. I think there's, somebody said it, they make the antenna of the piece that NXPI, the card, the reader, the payment reader that NXPI makes, or something like on the Apple payment deal. How's that for thorough investigation? But do your own diligence. I'm not going to just say, well, I'm going to jump in that tomorrow. I did get a trade in it today, but I'm not holding that something like that overnight. So anyway, I do want to keep this one on watch for several days going forward. This PULSRADA with this insane move it made yesterday. It's given a big chunk of that back today. I kind of like to see this come back down to the 8-day moving average, and then I'll look for a bounce. But again, another one that just needs to be on a chart somewhere while you're trading during the day. A few bounce plays, KERX after the halt the other day. You can see the 200-day here. This purple line is kind of, well, it looks like a trend line, really. You bounced off of it here, and now we're down into it again here. Volume starting to taper off after the big sell-off. So I want to watch KERX for a bounce. Now that doesn't mean I just dive in, but knowing the daily chart, now on an intraday basis, if I can get kind of a narrow range for a little while and then an upside breakout, we might get a nice trade in KERX. Taser, time to go back on bounce watch with this thing. A lot of good news out of this thing lately, and you can't help but think, going forward, there's just going to be order after order from police departments for all this stuff after the Ferguson, Missouri deal, which leads me to VII, which I started to swing in yesterday, but this one does need to be on bounce watch. If you go to 60s, I have a line drawn here at the most recent low that it really took off from, which was around 315. So I'm trading that one. Sorry about that. I'm trading that one as a swing in my swing account that I have tons of time that I can sit on it. I bought some at the close yesterday and some more at the close today. I'll add in that account if it gets down there around 320, where it bounced from. But I also want to look for a trade in my trading account on VII if it gets down around 320, or like I said on some of those other stocks, if it trades in a narrow range for a while and then takes off to the upside, you could get a nice trade. It's a very low float stock, and those things can really move, as you can see some of these big green candles. And I think it's, if I shorted this thing up here, yeah, I'm proud, but now we're getting down to the 20-day. We're getting down to the last place it bounced off of. Shorts, when they start covering and longs come in, especially if there's any kind of news story about, police orders for DGLY or Taser or whatever, that whole space is going to run. So I want to have VII on watch. You could include in that, if you want, ISNS, and again, Taser, but I'm kind of going with VII, but I've got charts up of all those, so I'll know if that space starts running. Let's see, EVRY. Just had this on bounce watch. It tried to break out above $3 a couple days ago, and then a couple lower volume days back down. Of course, the SPY was weak today, so that could have been the reason for it. So again, if I can get a tight range and then an upside break later in the morning or the afternoon, EVRY could give me a nice trade. And this one, you know what? I don't love this, but I think it's worth it. Have KNDI on a chart. A lot of times when you get a gap up, which you did here, okay, a lot of times you form a range. Well, with that being the case, it did pierce the bottom of that range. That could also be attributed to SPY weakness, but it's time to start watching KNDI When's the last time we had a green candle right there? And then every day, sellers, sellers, sellers. But you can't see it on this chart, but it's pretty close to the 100-day as well. And former resistance back here. So KNDI needs to go. This was kind of an old high right there, right? Came back. So it needs to go on bounce watch at this point, I think. Any other things to watch? I found a couple other interesting things that I want to share with you real quick that are not necessarily going to be on watch tomorrow, but they're in my notes. JMEI, which made a really nice move here to almost 40. You can see it's a newer issue from, looks like back in May. It's getting down close to these lows. If we get down to these, all-time lows, which it's all-time only because it's a new issue, but, I definitely want to look at this one for a bounce pretty soon, JMEI. PGN, this was like a spin-off from, I don't want to get it wrong, Noble Energy or something like that. Probably wrong about that, but anyway, this one is getting ahead of itself to the downside. You could get a nice percentage gain in this one, so keep your eyes on PGN. And let's see. I'm still a fan of this CSLT. It had a really nice relative strength today, so keep that one on your radar too. A lot of shorts in this name, and it really feels like it bottomed back here. So, you know what, that's enough to throw at you because a lot of the stuff we're finding lately is on an intraday basis, but not a bad place to start with this list. Yeah, I'm going to leave it like that. We'll add stuff as the morning unfolds in the chat room, but for now, pretty good place to start. All right, have a good night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.